Moadim L'Simcha, ladies. We are in day 2, counting the Omer and moving through the vessels called the sefirot. Today contains gevurah within the week of kindness. When you look at the model of the sefirot, there are 3 columns. The Zohar describes the right side attributes are male energy or tendencies, the left side is feminine, and the middle is the ideal of both coming together in balance and optimal performance. Now, yesterday was kindness, and our opportunity to reflect upon whether our kindness is nurturing and flourishing, or does it suffocate and prevent people and circumstances from thriving. Water is compared to hesed, as it offers life in so many ways, and yet if there's too much, like in a flood, it can kill and do untold damage. So how do we temper kindness or hesed? We do so with gevurah, which is on the opposite side of the model of the sefirot. And gevurah is translated as strength, discipline, or judgment. It's about borders and boundaries. Good is only good when it has boundaries. Otherwise, things get out of hand, out of control, and then things are not so good. Now, chesed is on the right side of the sefirot model, which means it's male energy. Now, I know that may sound strange, and I've heard women say in response, it's the women who embody kindness because they're the ones who raise the children. And that's not a completely accurate response. And now, please don't tune out because of what I just said, that chesed is male energy. Hear me out as I give you some Torah background context before I continue discussing the sefirot as of the day. The Torah is a blueprint of the world, and Hashem created us, the world and the universe, based on this blueprint. Our goal is to interact in this world in order to elevate, perfect ourselves, embracing our highest spiritual selves in order to connect with Hashem. In creation, we began as Adam, the he/she entity. When Hashem created Chava, she was formed from a portion of Adam's body and soul as a separate being known as Isha. Now, she was not created as a separate entity from the ground with a soul breathed into her nostrils like Adam. Adam and Chava are distinct halves of the original he/she Adam entity, like 2 puzzle pieces that can only be combined from their opposite inverse shapes. That is reflected in the world on all levels, physically, emotionally, and so on. Now, in the 60s, when women were fighting for equal rights in society, there was a paradigm shift in society regarding men and women's roles. And there was an imposition for sameness for men and women. From then on, the boys and girls were expected to be raised exactly the same way because that was deemed healthy parenting. Men and women were expected to be treated exactly the same way in all forums, in and outside the workforce. Bottom line, any distinctions were to be avoided, ignored, and repressed. 3 decades later, in the 90s, books start to come out that contradicted 30 years of thinking about men and women. These books clearly identified that men and women were not the same and highlighted clearly how different in so many ways beyond the physical realm, also emotionally, psychologically, how we communicate, how we view love, how we interact with society in general. They identified very important distinctions that have existed since Chava was formed out of Adam. Now, you may be familiar with the book that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Now, I agree that there are differences between men and women, and it may even feel like we're from different planets. However, what each of us really are is one half of a soul, like a puzzle piece searching for the other half. When we try to put 2 puzzle pieces together from the sides that look the same, we can't put the pieces together at all. The only time those puzzle pieces get to be put together successfully is when their opposite inverse positions come together. That's when the picture gets clearer. Now, the Torah already knew this truth. The construct of the world and the universe aligns with this eternal truth. However, society has not been balanced and aligned with this truth for such a long time, millennia definitely, and the energies seek balance. So these revolutions like the women's lib movement and other similar platforms manifest into the physical world to restore balance. However, human beings are not perfect, so all good intentions of these platforms create more paradigm shifts and, unfortunately, extremes. What happens in revolutions? Collateral damage. While trying to solve a valid problem, other non-problematic parts that are integral to the whole picture get buried, or destroyed in the process. So the 90s paradigm shift through today has been an enormous effort to restore what works and still keep away from what doesn't work. Not an easy undertaking because the process involves human beings and we're quite complicated. So Hashem instructs us in the Torah not to go to the left and not to go to the right in our observance of mitzvot. What we have here is an ongoing journey to stay in the center in the face of extreme polarities that manifest in our world. So my discussions here in these videos about the sefirot will focus on the male and feminine aspects because I believe from my experience, from my Torah learnings from different sources, recognized teachers, what I've witnessed in the world, especially the Torah world, the gender journey is still reclaiming what works and what doesn't work for men and women to successfully interact. So these videos is where I wish to bring powerful context in these areas for my sisters to understand what Shasani Kirtsono truly means. So let's go back to my statement about kindness being masculine energy rather than feminine, which is usually equated with mothers of children. What exactly is going on with the sefirot and the genders? So the Zohar describes the essence of these sefirot, as I said before, being male or female, or the center being the ideal combination of both. As it is above, so it is below. Man is hesed, woman is gevurah. That is their essence. And how do we know that? Because above hesed and gevurah, the Zohar identifies the upper sefirot in those respective columns. Chachma is Abba, which is on the right side, and Bina is Ima on the left side, male and female. So there is clearly gender energies going, but they are identified probably differently than we would think. But I'm going to strive to clarify these things for you in these upcoming videos. Now, Chesed, which is below Chachma, as we said before, is outpouring of kindness, giving, without boundaries. Now, for any mothers who have raised sons, and I have 4, we can testify to the boundless energies that they exude when they're children. It's a tendency. I don't doubt that there are mothers who have sons who are a little quieter than the more rambunctious majority. Okay, now gevurah is putting boundaries, limits on whatever is in gevurah's periphery. We see girls, they tend to play games. They have rules to establish boundaries. Their play tends to be low-key and quieter. Mothers are generally not worried about their girls hurting themselves or others the way they might be about their sons. Mothers generally trust their daughters at earlier ages to even take care of the younger siblings than they would be for their sons at the same age. Now, of course, again, we do have our tomboys on the girls' side, and again, exceptions to the rules. Now, let's consider the fact that the Torah, the blueprint of the world, requires men to observe time-bound mitzvot. Why? How does time-bound mitzvot help men to achieve perfection? Because they embody boundaryless energies of chesed. And the boundaries of mitzvot by time is how men channel their energy. They are training to pause, reflect, look at the time 3 times a day. They have to pray. And when they come to shul, they have to look to see before they can start to pray. They have to look, are there 9 other men there so they can have a minyan? Now women, the Torah is very clear, are not required to fulfill time-bound mitzvot. And why? Because they're gevurah. They do not need the rectification of boundaries. They are better equipped to handle the chesed energies of children and teach the children boundaries. Notice how typical fathers, when they're with babies, don't seem at ease with little ones, little babies that don't do very much, because those babies don't interact with their father's chesed energy. When the children are older and playing, most fathers will join the playtime if it includes running around, roughhousing, and things like that. Now consider also the difference of how a woman maintains a home, whether she is married or not, compared to a bachelor's apartment. Again, I know there are exceptions, but why are there exceptions? Well, because we each have an aspect of the other, some more than others, because we're parts of one whole soul unit. So the children give women the opportunity to better access their chesed as mothers. This balances her gevurah. When a woman is single, she may do kind things. However, her chesed is not raised to the same degree of rectification that marriage and motherhood will bring. So let's go back to today's sefirot of gevurah and hesed. So the gevurah is in the hesed, giving love, being generous, must have limits, because too much chesed will lead to destruction, as will if there's too little chesed, if the gevurah itself is not balanced. So we need the balance of both. And as mothers, we go through this exercise all the time. We don't want to spoil our children, but we don't want to deprive them. What do? And if we get frustrated, our gevurah goes up, and then other times we want to compensate. Then our chesed goes up, and it's all about creating a balance. So the exercise for today is to choose to do something for someone the way the person wants it done. Other than something that's actually dangerous, but I'm talking about something that's reasonable. Think of the exercise that I'm giving you as al pi darko. That's a term you usually hear when it comes to educating children. However, I have expanded on, I really do believe that al pi darko really applies to all of us, and not just to children in chinuch. And you'll hear more about that in future videos. So get creative, ladies, and I'll see you tomorrow for Sefirat and hesed. So please subscribe, like, and comment. Moedim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sason.